Okay, so I'll be starting the lecture shortly. Could I just have some indication that you can hear me in the chat area before I proceed? Can you hear me or not? Okay, all right. So I'm going to be sharing my screen, okay, and basically I will not be looking at in the chat area. So either you unmute and speak up, or else I will assume that everything is fine. Okay, I'll just keep going through the slides. We only have 1 hour, so anything you need to any questions, can you leave it at the end? If we have time, I will come back and then answer your questions. Otherwise, I just keep moving. We're going to continue from last week's lecture. Okay, so I hope you can hear me, right? So I'll just keep. This is just a continuation from where we stopped last week. We have seen this APESB Code of Ethics application of this code. This code is from the CPA Australia. Okay, so we have two categories. One is for members in practice, and the other is for members in business. So members in practice, meaning that you are providing services to your clients. Okay, either you're working in a big four firm, second tier firm, small firm, whatever. And the third category is for members in business, what they call as PAIB, professional accountants in business. Basically, you are working for a company as an accountant, senior accountant, chief accountant, whatever. Okay, so there's some distinction, okay, on the code of ethics depending on which sector you're working in. Okay, so part A of the code, the fundamental principles. These are the fundamental principles. So the first one is integrity. I think that one, it goes without saying lah. Okay, integrity. If you don't have integrity, then over time you will lose your clients. Okay, but sooner or later the word will get around. This particular accountant, he will do whatever you want him to do, so long as you pay him his fees. Okay, whatever you ask him to do, he will do. So that means the lack of integrity, no integrity. So that's the your what you call, you're conflicting with the fundamental principles. The other one is objectivity. Objectivity means whatever decisions you make, whatever conclusions you arrive at, you make it in a unbiased manner, not bias, objectivity. Okay, the next principle is professional competence and due care. So whatever you do with due care, okay, due diligence, due care. Not doing the work, I think probably the best expression I can use is chinchai. Okay, just slip short lah, slip short. Okay, professional competence and due care. Okay, another aspect is confidentiality under section 140. So as an accountant in practice, you have access to a lot of confidential information about your company's business, their strategies, okay, their supply chain, their staff salaries, board meetings, okay, what are their plans for the future. You have access to a lot of this information, which is very valuable to the other players in the market. So if you think that I want to use this information for my own benefit, I will sell it to the highest bidder, meaning, okay, who wants this information, contact me, I'll give you this information. So that is again a breach of the code. It's a breach of the code, a serious breach of the code. And last but not least, professional behavior. Okay, there's no issue anymore. We have already discussed it in the earlier class. We are now already in week 6, that we are accountants are professionals. There's no more debate about this issue. I don't want to go back to what I said in previous lectures. Okay, so it's already settled. There's no longer any. Sorry. Yes. Can you hear me? Is there any issue with hearing you? So there's no issue. I'm going to continue. Huh? Okay, so professional behavior means like you need to be mindful of the fact that you are a member of a professional body. It could be CPA Australia, it could be MIA, it could be MICPA, whatever. So how you conduct yourself. Okay, you cannot say that, oh, this is after work, therefore I'm going to have a few drinks, get drunk, okay, misbehave myself, and then somebody saw your behavior and they take a picture, they take a video and share it in the social media. So and so's partner in this firm, he was drunk and he was doing all kind of silly things because he just didn't know how to control himself. This would be a breach of section 150. End of the day, you need to remember you are a professional. So the way you behave reflects on your profession. So you can't seem to be behaving in that manner. You cannot justify your behavior by saying, oh, this is after work. I just let my hair down. I went to the pub. I had a few drinks. I had too many drinks. I couldn't control myself. This type of explanation they won't accept. So keep in mind, okay, integrity, objectivity, professional competence, due care. Okay, you owe a duty of care to your client. You owe a duty of care to your client. Okay, the moment you sign the contract, you accept the job, you accept the fee, you got to do your job professionally and with due care. Confidentiality, okay, you need to safeguard the secrets that you get in the, which you came across in the course of doing your job. It's not they want to give to you, no, but you came across in the course of doing your job. So that is called confidentiality and professional behavior. So like I just said, you cannot justify your behavior by saying that, oh, this is after work, I'm entitled to go to the pub, have a few drinks, my personal life. No, it's true, your personal life, but end of the day, you need to keep in mind you are still a professional accountant. So your behavior reflects on the profession. You have this conceptual framework approach. So this is what they call the conceptual framework approach. So this APESB Code of Ethics adopts this conceptual framework approach to support systematic or consistent treatment of ethical issues. So meaning that every time we are confronted by an ethical issue, if we follow this conceptual framework approach, so we will behave in a consistent manner. Okay, so we just look at this flow chart. First thing is threats, then safeguards, and finally resolution. So these are the three steps in this flow chart. Identify the threats, then look at the safeguards to mitigate the threats, and finally what are the conflict resolutions, how to solve this problem. We just discussed earlier in the tutorial some of the ethical issues, and we didn't just leave it at that. We also discussed some solutions. So first thing is to identify the threat. So the moment you identify the threat, if you see, follow the flow chart, the arrow, so you got to ask yourself the question, is this threat fundamental? Is this threat to the fundamental principles significant? So what are the fundamental principles we just saw just now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the fundamental principles. Okay, we saw it already. Okay, so the question is the threat to fundamental principles significant? If the answer is no, so you exit from this flowchart, no further action, out already, no further action. But if the answer to this question is yes, then we go down the flowchart. So the next thing we have to do is to implement the safeguards. So after implementing the safeguards, has the threat been mitigated to an acceptable level? Has the threat been mitigated to an acceptable level? If the answer is yes, then again we go back to the box there, no further action. No further action. If the answer to this threat mitigation is no, meaning it's not mitigated to an acceptable level, then we go down again in the flowchart. So it says here decline or discontinue service client or employer. So this is what we call the conceptual framework approach. First of all, identify the threat. Then you implement your safeguards. And then the last step would be ethical conflict resolution. So how are we going to solve this problem? So the guidance from the CPA Australia, because this is our teaching material from CPA Australia, so the guidance is very clear. It says that if you are not able to mitigate the threat to an acceptable level, then what you should do, the proper step you should take is to decline or discontinue the service, client or employer. Okay, this is called the conceptual framework approach. Okay, so whatever questions you have, please wait for me at the end. Okay, I'll just keep moving. Okay, the next part of the code looks at public practice, meaning that you are in public practice. Public practice means that you are providing services to clients. Okay, so if you're a member in public practice, so there are things you need to be mindful of. Your professional appointment, is it done in a professional manner? Okay, as you have a letter which states clearly what is your job, what is the client's job, and then you sign. Okay, professional appointment. Conflict of interest, meaning that, okay, I can't be an auditor for this client and an auditor for the other client when these two people are in the same business, they are rivals, they are competitors. There is a potential conflict of interest. So you need to think about conflict of interest. And the other aspect is fees and other types of remuneration. So if you're in public practice, so you need to be upfront. You need to be upfront with your client. This is my scale of charges. This is what I will do. These are the things I will do. I will mention it very clearly in my letter of appointment. And these are my scale of charges. These are my fees. So everything is transparent. Transparent and upfront. Then marketing of professional services. How am I going to market my services? Am I going to put an advert in the newspaper? Come to me, I offer the cheapest services in town, or am I going to put up a spanduk or a banner somewhere saying that, okay, this is my firm, this is my address, please come. This is again something you need to consider, because we are professional. We are not selling goods. If Giant or if Mydin supermarket or whatever they promote they are selling goods. We cannot do this. This is not the way to market our services. Okay, it's against our code of ethics. Okay, and gifts and hospitality. We just discussed some of this in the tutorial class just now. Gifts and hospitality. If we accept, is it going to impair? Is it going to impair our objectivity? Remember, just now we just spoke about objectivity, right? Section 120, objectivity. Objectivity means don't be biased. So if we accept gifts and hospitality, is there a possibility that it is going to impair our objectivity? So for that reason, this is very clear guidance on gifts and hospitality. Custody of client assets. Okay, sometimes because you are the auditor, you have access and custody of client assets. For example, cash lah. Client comes and says, okay, I'm giving you this deposit. Upfront, give you the deposit. But you haven't finished the work yet. You haven't done the job yet. So are you going to just abscond with that money? Bye-bye, take and go, run? Okay, again, this is another issue. Okay, objectivity of all services. Okay, objectivity means this, you have to be unbiased. Unbiased when carrying out your services. Okay, you must not have a self-interest. You must not have a self-interest. So this is part of our code for those who are in public practice, meaning you are providing services to your clients. This is for members in public practice. Now for members in business, what they call as PAIB, we have seen this term before. Don't tell me you never heard before, because I've been repeating this from day one. By the way, I'm recording all my lectures, so I have proof. PAIB, professional accountants in business. Okay, some of the issues that you need to avoid, conflict of interest again. You cannot be working for two companies. Or this is my official job. In the daytime, I do this. At night time, slyly, I do a second job. I moonlight. But if this, for example, the other company and your company are in the same line of business, this is a conflict of interest. Preparation and reporting of information. Preparation and reporting of information. Make sure you do your job properly. You prepare your financial statements in accordance with the approved accounting standards, IFRS, MFRS, follow all the standards, okay? Preparation and reporting of information. Don't hide anything. Acting with sufficient expertise. So I think in one of the earlier case studies, okay, I think it was the previous week, we had some issue with, you know, contracting, you receive a tender or a contract for some government accounting job, which requires you to be very familiar with a particular cost accounting system. So if you don't have the expertise in that area, so either you go for the training, or if not, you get somebody to be your mentor. Okay, otherwise you will end up doing the job badly, and then you will not only spoil your name, but you're going to spoil the name of your majikan, your employer, and financial interests. Make sure you disclose your financial interests. Don't wait for your employer to find out after you work there so long. You find out that you got a share in some other company. It just so happens to be their competitor. How do you think he will? How do you think he or she will react? I don't think he will be happy because you have been keeping quiet. You never tell, so they never even inform. And then section 350, inducements. Inducements mean that when you try to get other companies' secrets, you cannot like contact your friend who's working in another company and say, hey, give me all these secret, I give you some, I'll pay you for it. Give me your account number detail, I'll transfer to your account this money. But I need all this information. Your client's accounting system, their costing system, where they source their goods from, and things like that. These are company secrets. So in order for you to get access to these secrets, you use, for example, it could be a monetary kind of inducement. Okay, call a friend and say, okay, I need this information. Can you supply this information to me? And in return, I will reward you. Okay, this is called inducement. Okay, so these are some of the issues which are under Part C for PAIB, Professional Accountants in Business. Okay, so just to recap, these are the issues for members in practice. Those who are in public practice, they are providing their services to members of the public. This one, you are working for a company. You are working for a company, you are getting a salary from this company, you're getting the bonus from this company, you're getting the overtime from this company. So these are the things that you need to be mindful of when you are working as professional accountant in business. Okay, then let's come back to this issue of ethical conflicts in the workplace. This is an issue that we just discussed in the tutorial just now, just before the lecture. The first question just now about ethical conflicts in the office, in the company. How are you going to deal with it? How are you going to tackle it? Okay, so this is guidance. Assist accountants in business, PAIB lah. Basically, accountant in business means PAIB, to address a range of ethical issues, including potential conflict of interest arising from responsibilities to employers. So when you work in a company, you have your responsibility to your employer. So make sure you are not having a conflict of interest, meaning that while I'm working here, I'm also moonlighting somewhere else on the weekend or at night time. Another company. I didn't inform this company. That there might be a conflict of interest. Preparation and reporting of information. As a professional accountant, you need to follow all the financial reporting standards. I think all of you have already done in SAM 3 financial reporting, so I don't need to go into the technical details. You know what needs to be done. So basically what I have to say to you here is that when you prepare and report information, make sure you do it in a professional manner, in accordance with your financial reporting standards. Financial interests. So if you or your spouse or your close family member is having financial interest in another company, and then you're working here in this company, so you need to be upfront. You need to disclose your financial interest so that your employer knows. What is most upsetting for your employer would be he discovered it, happened to get this information through social media or through some friend. Hey, your staff, this guy working for you. I thought he's also working in this company. I thought I saw him there last weekend. Then it will become an issue. your employer will be very upset. And whistleblowing. Whistleblowing is when you see something wrong happening in your company. It could be something unethical, could be something illegal. Yeah, remember, there's a distinction between unethical and illegal. They're not the same. So either way, it's either unethical or it's illegal. You know about it. If you keep quiet, you will be charged as an accomplice. If ever this issue comes to court, you could be charged as an accomplice for keeping quiet. You know about it, but you decided, okay, I want to keep my mouth shut. Oh, I need this job. It's my rice bowl. But whistleblowing basically says that if you know something like unethical or illegal happening in your company, it's your responsibility to blow the whistle to the appropriate authority. Like in the case of Malaysia, we already have an agency called MACC, Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission. Yeah, you can. They have a hotline. You can call the hotline. You can call them and tell them you will be attended to by an officer. They'll take down all the details. So meaning that you have to take the initiative to blow the whistle. Like I said, if you know something's happening in your company, and then for whatever reason you want to safeguard your job or whatever, you think, oh, not my business, I don't want to get involved. Then if nothing happens, it's fine. But if it so happen become an issue, then you might be, I'm not saying you will be, you might be dragged in as an accomplice, especially if you're holding a senior position. If you're a junior level staff, usually they don't bother. If you're like, for example, the finance director, if you're like example the CFO, then there's a possibility you will be dragged in. You will be dragged in, okay? And these are some examples of ethical failures by accountants. Now, these three cases here, just an example only. This Sonia, this Trevor, this Warren, these were actual members of CPA Australia. Okay, actual members of CPA Australia, and they were what you call punished by CPA Australia. This Sonia, she was a PAIB. Okay, member in business means PAIB. So the issue was integrity, professional behavior. So either she was cautioned, given warning, given a fine, but it appears that in this case they have done what is called name and shame. Name and shame. So that's why we know her name. In some cases, if the offense is not very serious, they fine you, they caution you, but they don't publicize it. Only the CPA will know. In this case, they have decided to name and shame. Name and shame. Likewise for Trevor Neil Thompson, a member in public practice. What was the issue he was found guilty of? Integrity, objectivity, professional behavior. I just give an example of professional behavior. Yeah, as you know, in Australia, I hope they know Aussies in the class, but they just like to drink a lot. Okay, after work, go to the pub. So it's okay so long as you can control yourself. You don't get drunk and misbehave is fine. But when you cross the line, okay, you start misbehaving, then it becomes an issue of professional behavior, and you can be sanctioned by your professional body. In this case, since you're an accountant in Australia, happen to be a member of CPA Australia, a member of the public saw you behaving like this, and then they report to CPA Australia. And Warren again, Warren is a member in public practice. So what are the issues for which he was being found guilty? Objectivity, professional competence, lack of due care, professional behavior. Professional behavior, like I said, cheating. Cheating would come under professional behavior. Okay, so these are examples of ethical failures by accountants. These are real life examples taken from CPA Australia. Okay, so be mindful. If you're a member of professional body, they can take sanction against you. They can punish you. Either they punish you, keep quiet, they don't tell the public. But in this case, maybe what they did was too bad, so they decide to name and shame, inform the public, so the public is aware. Be careful next time when you deal with these three people. These are the type of behavior for which they were sanctioned. We're done with that. So I'll just briefly go back to the chat area in case there's any question you want to ask me. Please ask now, otherwise I will keep moving. Is there any question? We've come to the halfway mark. So before I proceed continuing with my lecture, is there anything that you want to ask based on what I have presented up to now? I'm back in the Teams. You can put your questions in the chat area, or you can unmute and speak up. Otherwise, I will go and continue with my lecture. Okay, it appears there is no question. Okay, so I only got about half an hour. I want to keep moving. So this is some of the things that can impinge an individual's behavior. Okay, we look at the concentric circles. You have got 1, 2, 3, 4 concentric circles. Okay, so society, meaning the law, the culture, will also have an influence on your decision making. Your professional body, because they have a code of ethics. They tell you what you can do, what you cannot do. Okay, organizational factors. Okay, organizational factors meaning the organization that you're working in, because of stress, because of the corporate culture and things like this, also will have an influence on your decision making. And last but not least, you as an individual yourself. What is your level of cognitive development? I did mention this before in previous classes. I don't know how many were actually paying attention. This is what we have described as your moral compass. This is your moral compass. If your moral compass is highly developed, which means that when you encounter a situation, you know straight away, okay, this is not ethical. There's no doubt whatsoever in my mind, because I already have my cognitive development is already at that stage. This is a clear-cut case of unethical behavior. There's no need for you to rationalize to me. I see this scenario, I know this is unethical. So because I'm already at that level of cognitive development. Then the next circle around you is the organization. Sometimes you are a very ethical person. Okay, like they say in Malay, lurus bandul. Okay, very ethical. But when you go to the organization, because of the culture in the organization, because of your stress, either from the work or at home, personal matters, it affects your behavior. And then another source would be your professional body. Let's say I'm a member of CPA Australia. I have to follow their code of ethics. I don't want to end up like this Sonia and this other two people just now, whereby I'm named and shamed in the public. And last but not least, your society, the society in which you live. We have laws, we have culture. Okay, what may be acceptable in Australia is not acceptable in Malaysia, for example. So all of this plays all of this impinge your decision making. So you have the individual level, you have the organizational level, you have the professional level, you have the society level. So that's why you have 1, 2, 3, 4 concentric circles. Okay, you face a problem, all of this will impinge on your behavior and what is your outcome, what is your decision. So this is again explaining the earlier, this is in the form of a concentric circles. Okay, concentric circles. Now this is the explanation for that. So factors influencing decision making, it could be individual factors meaning from within you, is within you. It could be organizational factors based on the go back to this chart again, based on the company you're working in, based on their corporate culture, based on how they behave in this company. Sometimes you don't want to do this because everybody else is doing it. So basically what they say is if you can't do it, then just join them. I don't want to be left out. I don't want to be in the rat race. Everybody wants to be promoted. So this is the culture. Okay, I just follow. Okay, all of this will impact. And then also professional factors. Okay, if you're a member of professional body, which in Malaysia, as I've said millions of times already, you want to practice as an accountant in Malaysia, you have to be a member of MIA. No matter where you qualify from, you must come back to Malaysia and sign up with MIA. Otherwise, you cannot practice as an accountant in Malaysia. Okay, and societal factors. Societal factors are those factors from society. Okay, Depend on the country you live. Different countries have different culture, different moral view, moral values, and so on and so forth. So all of this will impinge. Okay, individual factors. Person's decision making is most influenced by their cognitive ability to judge the ethical rightness of a situation. Like I said, it is your moral compass. It's inside you. It's the way you were brought up. So you have no doubts in your mind that this is unethical. You don't have to give them a long explanation. When they see the scenario, when they see the situation, straight away they know. Because they have a very highly developed, you see that circle right in the middle there. This is right in the middle, cognitive development, meaning your moral compass is very, very strong. There's no doubt in your mind. There's no like waffling, no waffling. Okay, is this right or is this wrong? I'm not sure. You know straight away, this is wrong, full stop. Okay, so this is what they call your level of cognitive development. So your decision making is most influenced by their cognitive ability to judge the ethical rightness of the situation. People have different levels of moral development. This is very true. This is very, very true. So some people are selfish. That's why we talked about self-interest. Okay, in most instances where human beings are concerned, highly motivated by self-interest. Some people are selfish and may only act in the right way out of fear of punishment. I think a good example in Malaysia would be our drivers on the road. Okay, I think those of you who are driving, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, they will be just changing lane without giving signal. Okay, there will be somebody in the extreme right, the fast lane, hogging the lane, going very slow, and somebody at the back horning, flashing the light, showing the finger, all of these things. But suddenly, if you're going on the plus highway, going to Penang or going north, and you're going, suddenly you see some traffic coming in the opposite direction, flashing their light, telling you, oh, there is a JPJ in front. Then everybody starts slow down. Why are they doing suddenly? Why do like that? Fear of punishment. Don't want to get caught. Don't want to pay the fine. Don't want to have their license suspended or whatever. Okay. So people are selfish and may only act in the right way out of fear of punishment. Suddenly, I think for me this is the best example. Okay, our drivers. If you see suddenly everybody slowing down, oh, what's happening? Oh, there's a police roadblock in front, or there's a JPJ roadblock in front. Okay, so only acting the right way because there's fear of punishment. Others may act appropriately to gain additional benefit from others. Okay, they're meaning that okay, I do this because I want to apple polish. Okay, I want to, sorry, I have to use this word angkat. Okay, angkat. So to gain additional benefits from others, they are not really sincere. They got their self-interest. Okay, so I want to catch the attention of my boss. So next year, when they're deciding on the bonus, I make sure my name is on the top of the list. Okay, another factor influencing a person's decision making is the development of ethical courage. Ethical courage can be developed over time, meaning that this is like your sensor inside your body. This is what we call the moral compass. It's called the moral compass. We know straight away, oh, this is wrong. Okay, like now we have online learning, right? So I don't know what's going on. Maybe you switch on the camera, you're just sleeping, also I wouldn't know. There's no interaction whatsoever. Switch off the camera, some unmute your mic, I wouldn't know. And some people during the exam time is when they take advantage. But when they get caught, they come up with all kind of stories. How do I know? I'm on the discipline board. So just remind quickly during this lecture, don't do it. You're caught, you get 0. Okay, you will get 0 in the final exam. So ethical courage can be developed over time. Maybe initially you're a bit timid, but over time you develop it. You become more and more courageous. When you see something unethical, straight away you speak up. You blow the whistle. We just saw the discussion just now about whistle blowing. Whistle blowing means I see something wrong, I see something unethical, something illegal, I blow the whistle. Okay. So individual factors is the most important thing to help you to judge whether something is right or wrong. Then organizational factors, corporate culture. So sometimes you go to an organization, okay, you go day one, you're very straightforward, okay. You just out of college, out of Taylor's University, just graduated. You don't know how to do all this hanky-panky, cutting corner, and so on. Okay. Like I just said, I use the Malay word, Malay expression, lurus bendol. Okay. So you go into this company, you see everybody kiri kanan just curi tulang and doing all kind of things. And you ask yourself, here I am working from 9 to 5. I do my work, only 1 hour I go out for lunch, come back quickly to my workstation. But every time I see that guy who's doing all kind of nonsense, is the one getting the promotion. So sooner or later will influence your behavior. Can't beat them, join them. If I can't beat them, I join them. So this is organizational factors. Okay, corporate culture, patterns and rules that govern the behavior of an organization and its employees. Don't tell me it doesn't happen. I know it happens. Okay, I've been looking for a very long time. So corporate culture can influence your behavior. Sometimes you come into in your very first year, you're very straightforward. Then over time you realize, oh, this is not getting me anywhere, no promotion, no recognition, nothing. Okay, can't beat them, I join them. Okay, so a culture that lacks written policies and code of ethics, there's no written policy, there's no code of ethics, and accepts dishonesty and unethical conduct. So if you're working in this organization, there's no written policy, there's no official code of ethics, and you see people doing work curi tulang, dishonest, unethical behavior, but they are getting promoted. You see that every year they are the ones at the front of the queue for the promotion. So then will strongly influence your ethical decision making. End of the day, you're a human being, right? If you see other people being promoted and you so rajin and doing all the work on time and never curi tulang, suddenly you're not being promoted. So will influence your ethical decision making. So the next point is very important. Even honest employees. You come in day one, you're like a white sheet, clean, okay, no spot, no blemish. But then you start behaving in deviant ways. If their environment or management encourages it. Actually, management does not encourage it on purpose, but by their behavior, by their attitude. So somebody who comes into the job day one, first year, very straightforward, very honest, doesn't cut corners, working from 9 to 5, 1 hour lunch break, come back to the workstation. After working for a year, he sees, oh, my colleagues who don't do all these things are getting promoted, but I am not getting promoted. So they will start changing their behavior. It's normal. It's normal. So an ethical culture is more likely to lead to ethical employee behavior. So very important. That's why they say that as far as this aspect of ethics is concerned, this is called setting the tone at the top. You can type in Google and read the literature. It's called setting the tone at the top. So if the leadership, the top management practice what they preach, they come in on time, they clock in on time, stay back late, and do that kind of thing, sooner or later this message will filter down to the staff. Okay, so ethical culture is more likely to lead to ethical employee behavior. So ethical culture of an organization is subject to the actions of management. So that's why I said, if your management sets the tone at the top, they practice what they preach, they walk the talk, so sooner or later the message will filter down to the employees. Okay, so don't play the fool. This organization, the boss is there, he's always on time, he's always keeping an eye on what's happening, he's always taking action on those people who are not doing their job and things like that. So sooner or later the message will get down to the employees. So organizational factor very important. Professional factor. As I said, we are all in Malaysia. If you want to practice as an accountant, why I keep talking about this? Because you are doing your accounting and finance degree. So I'm making the assumption that you are doing this accounting finance degree because you want to become an accountant. whether an accountant in public practice, working for yourself, or as an accountant, PAIB, professional accountant in business. Either way, you have to be a member of a professional body. So, for example, I'm a member of ACCA myself, I'm a fellow. At the same time, I'm also a member of MIA. Because my ACCA is a UK qualification, I cannot practice with that in Malaysia. I still have to register with MIA. So from time to time, MIA will issue emails to me, guidance to me on what can be done, what cannot be done, what is permitted, what is not permitted, what is ethical, what is not ethical. So this is what we call professional factors. Accountants are influenced by their membership of a profession. So the extent of influence on decision making is dependent on the effectiveness of the code. So from my own experience, it's not just about the effectiveness of the code. Our code is very effective. The issue is implementation. Implementation and enforcement. Maybe that is where we are a little bit weak and lacking in Malaysia, enforcement. Where laws is concerned, we have plenty of laws. I dare say we have a lot of laws in Malaysia. It's not a matter of not having law. It's not a matter of not having law. Our problem is the enforcement. So the more senior a person's position, the greater the opportunity and ability to influence events, practices, and attitudes. So like I said, if you want to influence your organizational culture, it's easier if you are, for example, the CFO or the GM or the finance director. If you're a junior or middle level staff, I don't think somebody at the senior level is really want to listen to you. They listen, but they won't follow what you say. Okay, so the more senior a person's position, the greater is the ability and opportunity to influence events, practices, and attitudes. I think this goes without saying. So that's why I just said just now, a good company, the tone must be set at the top by the top management, senior management. They must be seen to be walking the talk. If they say one thing but do another thing, sooner or later, the downline, the employees will get the message. They just talk only lah. They don't follow. Yeah. They say one thing, do another thing. This type of thing very quickly the employees can identify. Okay. So again, to recap, so individual factors, that's within you lah, your moral compass. It comes through training. Like now we are learning ethics in class. This is part and parcel of your exposure, and then your training about internship, individual factors to see how strong is your moral compass. Then organizational factors. Like I said, you might be a very straightforward person. You come in like a white sheet, clean white sheet on day one, and then you work in this company. Then over time you start observing things that's happening around here. Okay, people start cutting corners, people disappearing, going for long lunch break, and no action being taken. Sometimes 2-3 days they don't show up in the office. They just their desk is piling up because now we're doing online lah. Okay, so all of these organizational factors. What will happen is over time, even the honest employee will start behaving in a deviant way. Okay, they start observing the environment. This is what's happening. So if I can't beat them, let me join them. So although the management does not mean to encourage it, but because of the way they conduct themselves, so even honest employee who come in day one, okay, with a clear-cut attitude, I want to do my best and I want to get my salary, I want to work for it, they start cutting corners. So an ethical culture is more likely to lead to ethical employee behavior. So ethical culture of an organization is subject to the actions of management. Okay, next one is professional factors. So all of us who are working as accountants, okay, if you're studying overseas or you have a professional qualification from overseas, whether it's ACA, ACCA or CIMA or ICAEW or CPA Australia, okay, you have membership in a professional body, you have to follow their code of ethics. You have to follow the code of ethics. As I just shared with you earlier, the action being taken against errand members, the 3 errand members, we saw what action was taken against them, including naming and shaming. Naming and shaming in the media. Naming and shaming in the media. So the more senior a person's position, the greater is the ability and opportunity to influence events, practices, and attitudes. Okay, last but not least, we have societal factors. We are living in society. Okay, we are not living in isolation. We're not living on an island all by ourselves. So societal factors. So laws and regulations. So in any society, you will have laws and regulations. So laws and regulations are rules established by the community through the legislature. So in Malaysia, we have this legislature, what we call our Malaysian Parliament. We have two houses, lower house Dewan Rakyat, upper house Dewan Negara. Okay, so this is our legislature. They make the laws and regulations for Malaysia, and then they prohibit certain actions. These are laws made by the members of parliament. Okay, members of parliament. And laws generally reflect societal attitudes. So the laws that are made in Malaysia will reflect the attitudes of our society in Malaysia. If the majority, for example, are not in favor of this type of behavior, then they will pass laws to stop this type of thing happening. So this comes under laws and regulation. But for most people, they have minimal impact on ethical behavior. So law will have a very minimal impact on ethical behavior. So I have been saying from day one, illegal is different from unethical. Okay, illegal, then the law will come after you. You've broken the law. If it's unethical, no. We cannot punish you for it, but people might just boycott you. Okay, customers might stay away from you because of your unethical behavior. And the other aspect is culture. Okay, culture. We just saw just now in the tutorial before this class. Culture has a very strong influence on ethics. So in ethics, cultural values have a major influence in determining what is considered to be proper and ethical. Your culture is a very strong influence in determining what is considered proper and ethical. So this is where different cultures have different norms and different behaviors. We just saw one mini case study just now about certain things which are considered to be taboo in some countries and not taboo in other countries. For example, gift giving. Gift giving might be proper and ethical in some countries, but not so in other countries. Okay, so all of these things will have a cultural values and major influence. And another one is ethical relativism. I just spoke about it in the tutorial just now. Ethical relativism holds that ethical behavior is relative to the norms of one culture. So basically what this says, ethical relativism says, okay, please go and read up the reading material in week 5. Ethical relativism says that when in Rome, do as the Romans do. So what is ethical is relative to the norms of one's culture. So when you are in Rome, this is what is ethical in Rome. This is how the people behave. So that is ethical in Rome. It may not be ethical in Malaysia, for example. So this is what we call as ethical relativism. So ethical relativism holds that ethical behavior is relative to the norms of one's culture. Okay, for example, what is permitted in Saudi Arabia, what is not permitted in Saudi Arabia may be permitted in Malaysia. I'm not saying is, but may be permitted. So this is what we mean by ethical relativism. Okay, ethical decision-making models. Okay, earlier we just saw this one. This is one model we saw just now. Model, conceptual framework model. Okay, I don't think I'm going to explain it again. I've already explained it just now. So this is one model we can use. Okay, there's other model as well. So ethical decision-making models, most people rely on personal insight, intuition. Intuition means your gut feeling. Okay, my gut feeling tells me this is not right. Don't do it. Judgment and experience to make decisions. So this may lead to solutions that are merely satisfactory or adequate. So we need a more systematic approach to use structured models of decision making. So we've just seen one just now, which is the conceptual framework model. But what you need to be mindful is there's no perfect or correct model. Okay, there are a variety of ethical decision-making models. Just go and Google, type ethical decision-making models, you will get pages and pages. So there is no perfect or correct model. Okay, the following models should reduce the possibility of an incorrect or inappropriate decision. Not to say eliminate, but the chances of you making an incorrect or inappropriate decision will be reduced if you follow some of these structured ethical decision making models. Okay, so some of the things that before you take any course of action, you need to ask yourself, do the benefit outweigh the harms? Do the benefit outweigh the harm to other people? Do the benefit outweigh the harms to others? Do the benefit outweigh the harms to myself? These are some of the questions. You can see a question mark here. After these 4 bullet points, you see a question mark. Are the rights of individual stakeholders considered and respected? Question mark. Are benefits and burdens justly distributed? Question mark. So before you undertake any course of action, you ask yourself these questions before you proceed to the next step. You need to ask yourself these questions. Okay. So this approach provides a framework within which ethical issues can be identified, analyzed, and resolved. Its strength lies in the application of multiple theories to ethical dilemma rather than a single theory. So this approach has adopted a number of different ethical theories which we have studied in the previous lecture. Last but not least, we come to this model, which was developed by the AAA American Accounting Association model by 2 researchers called Langendorfer and Rockness. This is a 7-step ethical decision-making model based on the process of conventional decision-making, and this model has been adopted by the AAA American Accounting Association. So the first thing is to identify the facts. To get the facts, okay, get the facts, identify the ethical issues, identify the norms, principles, and values, and from that we identify the different courses of action which are possible. Then from the different courses of action which are possible, we get to the best course of action. Then we identify what are the consequences of each course of action before we come to our decision. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 7-step ethical decision making model which was developed by the American Accounting Association. Okay, so you can either use this approach before you come to making the correct or ethical decision, or if you don't want something so complicated, you can go back to this one. Before you undertake any course of action, you ask yourself these questions. Do the benefits outweigh the harms to oneself? Do the benefits outweigh the harm to other people? Are the rights of individual stakeholders considered and respected? Are the benefits and burdens justly distributed? So before you undertake any course of action, you ask yourself these 4 questions. Okay, and then you decide, do I proceed or do I stop? Okay, or else if not, we can go back to this framework just now. Conceptual framework. Okay, identify the threat. Okay, then you ask yourself, is this threat to fundamental principles significant? If it is not, then no further action is required. Now, if it is significant, if the threat is significant, then we have to implement the safeguards. The next step is to implement the safeguards. And after implementing the safeguards, have we mitigated the threat to an acceptable level? The answer is yes. Then again, no further action. Now, if the threat has not been mitigated or is still a very high level of threat, then the advice from the professional body is to decline or discontinue the service, client or the employer. This is the CFA framework, conceptual framework approach. So this is one approach, and then the other approach is one philosophical model of ethical decision making. So for each alternative course of action, you ask yourself these 4 questions. So if you get, for example, do the benefits outweigh the harms to others? If the answer is yes, then proceed to the next question. Do the benefits outweigh the first one is to oneself. Okay, do the benefits outweigh the harms? Yes. The next one, go to the next level. Do the benefits outweigh the harms to others? Yes. Go on to the next question. Are the rights of individual stakeholders considered and respected? Yes. Then go to the next question. Are benefits and burden justly distributed? Yes. Then okay, you say yes, proceed. Proceed with this project. Proceed with this project or job or whatever. Okay. So you need, before taking any course of action, at each step of the way, you need to ask yourself these 4 questions. And last but not least, this is the AAA model. So this is the American Accounting Association 7-step decision-making model. So identify the facts. From the facts, identify ethical issues. So what are the norms, principles, and values that are involved in this case? Identify the alternative courses of action, decide on the best course of action, and look at the consequences of each course of action, and then finally
Hi,
you come to
sir.
your decision. Yes.
Sorry, but investment management students have midterm at 12.
Okay. All right. I will give you the CMS code.
All right, thank you.
Okay. If it is taking a long time, then I probably do an okay. Let's try first. Okay. Hopefully it comes up fast. Okay, start it. PUA 6TV. Okay, PU capital letter A 6TV.